Yo, can you guys not hear the video? You guys can't hear the video, huh? Oh,
Nope.
it's all good. Oh, I think we had to set that up before, but no worries. I was gonna start out with a clip, but I don't think the audio is working. What is up, everybody? Bren here with my boys, with my guys, Max, aka Mike, Danksy Rotes, and then for Loco, the normal crew. I'm super excited for this one. Super timely, in one where I think a lot of people are going to hopefully find some value from. We're going to start off the top of the show here in a second, talking about what is on everybody's mind, which is the trade war and the tariffs, which obviously has been a big topic that we've been talking about here on these streams quite frequently. But obviously, the last few days, it's really heated up. Today, we have on, a regular, somebody who's been running the show with me, that I'm super gracious to have on, which is Max Crypto, aka Mike Williams. This guy has, as you can see here on his profile, decades of experience in traditional finance. Not only that, but he kind of specializes, or where he really shines, at least a lot, is in these talking about these different crises. Max has been on CNBC, Forbes, Fox, all these things hundreds of times over the years, talking about these different crises. So we're super gracious. I'm super gracious to have him on this stream to talk about tariffs and all this other stuff, to kind of compare, what he's seen in the traditional finance space and what we're seeing in crypto now. He's kind of been famous to stay on these streams that crypto's kind of where he sees crypto being where the Dow was in the 80s when he first started trading. Or first started investing. So super gracious to have him on. Max, how you doing today, brother?
Great guys. Happy to see everybody.
Awesome. Everybody else, Rhodes, Stanksy, for Loco, everybody good?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
Friday.
pretty good Friday here, man. At least for crypto.
Amazing. So we're going to go ahead and get into the good stuff, the tariffs, trade wars. Usually, what we want to do, what we do to start off the show, is something called the Rhodes Review with my boy Rhodes. He'll go over what kind of went down, a brief overview of what went down since the last stream we had a few days ago. So take it away, Rhodes.
Yeah. So, sorry, I got another. There we go.
Before Rhodes starts too, by the way, we love to make this chat super interactive. Today, we're going to get straight into the topics, but I will be looking at the chat, and we will have a time for Q&A as well. So if you have any questions, comments, especially about what we're talking about here shortly, leave it in the chat, and we'll get to it. Appreciate you guys.
So Bitcoin itself is holding really steady amidst like this macro turmoil, stocks crashing, etc. Pretty much flat for the most part, 83K, kind of in this range that it's been in prior to a lot of this. Stocks are down 3 to 4% over the last. Was it yesterday? Worst day, or yesterday, 2 days ago. Worst day in 5 years, but really it's like 10 years if you minus out COVID. China retaliatory tariffs came out today, and that caused a bit of a flash move, coming in at 34%. Recession odds have spiked to 56%. I think if Q1 was a negative GDP, then we're probably looking at it in Q2. Although Jerome Powell is still holding fairly steady, fairly strong in the market cut side of things, or the rate cut side of things. AI agent market cap up a little bit over the last 24 hours. Actually, a lot of memes up over the last 24 hours, but they're just kind of a rebound. But interesting to see that they're trading contrast to what's going on a little bit here today. NFTs volume is fairly low, flat, but we do have some movers. Steady Teddies that I think we talked about on this show on Tuesday, up 24%. Very much a milady, I think, to what we were looking at before. Wasn't necessarily the PFP part of the collection, but they look very milady like, but a bear, pretty interesting. Taproot Wizards up 9.5% to 0.16, but down overall from their initial mint. Memeland Captains up 5% to 0.69. They acquired a public company and have this idea of doing some kind of crypto kind of meme, MicroStrategy side of things, almost like with memes. But obviously that market is a little bit questionable. But if you were looking at memes, there are a few memes that are continuously getting this like rally bounce dump, rally bounce dump kind of scenario here, mainly being Fartcoin, with really wild moves, up 20, almost 24% here today, but down 10% since Tuesday, down 5% over the week. But you get these dumps, and then you get a really strong rally after that, and I think it's an interesting trade as long as the carousel doesn't stop. Pepe up 7.4%, but down 8% on the week. SPX up 16% today, down 5% on the week. A lot of memes are down a lot more, so these are the ones that are most resilient. And then Giga up to 150 million, up 12% on the day, but down 11% on the week. So a lot of them bouncing up almost equivalent to what they are down on the week. In prediction markets, 100K is now at 12%, down a few percent. 75K is up to 47% probability, up 11% since Tuesday. So market sentiment is leading bearish, which is interesting because like outside of this China and tariffs side of stuff, even with the tariff stuff, I'm leaning bullish still. So curious to see what the rest of the thoughts are, but wanted to get through this quick so we can get into the meat of everything that's going on.
Hell yeah. Always appreciated Rotes. So yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, awesome. Share my screen now. So again, really excited to do this stream at this time. We are going to talk about a few other things like the rate cuts or the potential rate cuts, Powell's comments today, unemployment and all that. But I want to focus a good meat and chunk of the show on tariffs because again, that's what's on everybody's mind right now. We've been talking about it with Max here since he's been on the stream and since this, the tariffs have been at the forefront. But Max, I know you have lots of thoughts on what the trade war is going to do for crypto and all that. But I wanted to first start off with a few basic questions for maybe the people who have no fucking clue what tariffs are or what they even mean for markets or for economies. And obviously, we're not going to dive too far into it. But just from your experience and from everything what exactly, like, obviously people know what a tariff is, but why do governments and stuff implement tariffs, and what are like the objectives of tariffs in general?
The objective of a tariff is to get a better trade deal. What I think people have to realize is that there is a method to this madness, though our unfortunate predicament in the United States, at least, is that we have a media that is going to refuse to tell you the whole story. They're going to tell you a story that paints Donald Trump as badly as they possibly can. That will include lying. That will include deception. That will include anything that's required to make it look bad. Now, in reality, I don't really care who anybody voted for, and it doesn't matter. But that you must understand that's what you're watching. You are watching a scenario by which every single fact is being put through the lens of politics. We're watching a scenario, and the media is creating something that is vastly worse than what is actually going on. Now, that being said, it's going to be important for people to recognize this is part of a much larger plan. Only really matters if you live in the United States. But the purpose of this administration, the goals they have for the next 4 years, are primarily threefold: end the fraud, deception, theft, and kickbacks that exist in a bloated, multi-trillion-dollar bonanza called the United States budget. That will take every day of the next 4 years to fix. We will be dumbfounded at how much fraud and deception almost every single elected official has partaken in. We will find that most of them are criminals. We will find that a lot of them will get charged, and we will find that our ability to trust politicians will only get a little worse. Now, when they get that part done, here's what we're going to find. We're going to find that we can actually operate as a country on budget. In fact, we might actually be in the green when you take away the theft and the fraud. So that's leg number one in the stool. Leg number two in the stool: bring down inflation and end income taxes as we know it. Now, a lot of people will go, "Oh my God, they're never going to do that." Well, they very well might. Um, if we can redo the horrible trade deals that the United States has been under for decades and make the world a more fair global trade mechanism, then everybody will win. I'm talking about all countries. All countries will sell more stuff into the country they want to sell in, and we will sell more stuff into countries that have constantly charged us to do so. In re-
Amazing. Sorry. Amazing. Yeah, that's definitely what the theme of the show that I wanted to get in. That everybody is assuming that the tariffs is just going to create years of turmoil and destruction for the economy and for markets. But you think there's a good chance it actually creates prosperity, at least like economically for the world, or at least the people that not fall in line, but whatever, negotiate or whatever. I do want to get into that, but now that we got into what a tariff is, we talked about this a few times on stream, but maybe for people who haven't been on, what is Trump's objective with the tariffs, and what does that mean for crypto and for the markets, risk assets in general?
uh, his objective is to get better trade deals.
Okay.
His objective is to get better trade deals, combine that with no income taxes, create better revenues for the U.S., and be in an operating budget that is free of red ink. When you do that, America will be better, vastly better, and the rest of the world will benefit from it. Because when America does well, everybody else does well.
Okay. Awesome.
And when you do that, while all that is going on, this is like four-dimensional chess. While all that is going on, the world of crypto will continue to overtake everything financial. So I'm afraid sometimes the way we pose the questions, I don't want to confuse by giving a confusing answer. There, these are two separate things. Tariffs have nothing to do with what cryptocurrency is going to do, with or without tariffs. The cryptocurrency is going to do exactly what it's designed to do, whether there's one tariff or 5,000 tariffs.
Got it. Makes sense. And you're hearing a lot about like reciprocal tariffs. For those who don't know, like what exactly is a reciprocal tariff versus other ones?
Well, it's like when you're in Vegas and you're playing poker and someone bets $100 and you say, I'll meet that. And you bet $100, except it's tariffs instead of betting. So what happened is that the United States found themselves on the bad end of most of those bets. So they yesterday or 2 days ago said, okay, well, if you guys are going to charge us, we're going to charge you. And as you might expect, Donald Trump came over the top like you would in Vegas when you're trying to get someone to fold or you're bluffing or whatever you want to do, you want to take the pot. He came over the top and said, not only am I going to meet your tariff, but I'm going to raise you. Okay. So
Yeah.
so now
What are
you're
your thoughts on what Powell said this morning
Let's stick to
in
let's stick to.
response to Trump's
Okay.
comments?
Let's. Is this tariff related? If not, let's.
Indeed.
yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Got it. Got
Which
it.
which comments? He made lots of comments. So which
Yeah, true. He said that the economy is still in good place despite high uncertainty.
oh yeah. Well, uncertainty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah,
Yeah.
if we want to be realistic, every one of us lives with uncertainty every second of our life. Now, we don't think it's uncertainty because we don't really think about the idea that our heart could stop right this minute. Um, we don't think it's uncertainty because we don't like to think we might keel over and die on the sidewalk, but we could, just like all the other things the media says could happen because of the tariffs. Now, will they? No, they won't. But it sure sells a lot of newspapers. Um,
Yeah.
here's the point. Pal is correct, and we've noted this many times on this broadcast. The United States economy is stronger than it's ever been. I mean, if you ever really wanted to go to war, we're picking the exact right time you'd want to go to war, and that is when you're at the top of your game. I mean, we literally just finished a record-setting earnings season. Everything set a record. Everything. 15% year-over-year growth in all earnings combined. So if you wanted to go to war, we're in the best shape to go to war. Not every country is. We are.
Got it. What do you make of like China announcing an additional 34% tariffs on all American imports?
That's like the guy in Vegas who has a 2 and a 10 of clubs and
Okay.
nothing else in the draw, and he wants you to get out of the game.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Is it, you think they're just bluffing or?
It's a complete bluff. China's economy, whether anybody likes to admit it or not, is under extreme duress given their demographics.
Yeah.
They can pick a day and say they're great, but they can't pick the next 5 years and say they're great.
I
Uh,
was reading this morning from a reputed source that China has three options: concede defeat to whatever Trump terms demands, devaluate the yuan by 20 to 40%, or unleash the biggest fiscal stimulus in history.
I think
So
I think that's
they're in deep trouble, and I don't think this retaliation is going to work in their favor.
yeah,
But
it's exactly correct. But keep in mind, if you are here's what you're really watching. If you have to be the communist leader of 1.35 billion people without having complete social unrest that would destroy the communistic fabric of your country, then you must first come out and bludgeon the other guy to death, at least verbally. You need to come out strong, you need to come out tough, and you need to convince all billion people that you are the man. Because if you're not, they're going to overrun you and you will lose your rule. So that's what you saw. That's it. That's where it ends. And you're exactly right. He's got those three options after this.
Perfect. Yeah. What was I going to ask now? Now, did you see? Obviously, you saw the other day when they showed the board of what people thought were the tariffs, but they were really like trade deficits. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
The,
yeah. The Rose
uh,
Garden.
let's see if I can pull that up. But what are your thoughts on how that went down?
I think it's complete theater, and I don't think anybody should waste any time thinking it meant anything.
Yeah.
It was just a guys. Look, in the business of making money, you need to be able to relatively quickly realize that 97% of the garbage that will flow into your mind is garbage and it needs to flow out immediately. You, and that Rose Garden thing was one of those things. Trump made theater. That's what he's good at. He had a reason behind it. There was a purpose for it. But the reality is most of it didn't matter.
Yeah. Saw theater. You saw markets go down immediately. At least Bitcoin went down hard after that one. Like you were saying, it's all theater. This isn't even like correct
No,
numbers or
it
whatever.
really didn't, guys. All Bitcoin did that day, and by the way, it's held ever since.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
it did was erase its afternoon bounce.
I
That's
was
all.
going to say that it's only 4% down over the last week or so, whereas
It's
obviously the
nothing.
U.S. equities are suffering way more. So I think we're seeing some divergence finally, and obviously crypto was down way more since January. So relative strength is actually remarkable, and I don't think we're going much lower, at least on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Dominance also raising close to 70% now.
for sure. And we'll talk about that as well. And it's definitely interesting to see Bitcoin holding strong while stocks are getting massacred. We'll talk about that. They're hit pretty hard today. Now, Max, we talk about today. You were talking a little bit about earlier before I interrupted you that this the way that if this could the way this could go down, that it could lead to kind of prosperity for not just the United States, for the rest of the world. How, obviously it could go a number of ways. You can't tell the future, but like how exactly would that go down, in a possible scenario, like roughly
Well,
where.
I mean, think about it for a second. How many hundreds of billions of dollars do we pay each year in taxes? Hundreds of billions of dollars would be freed up. If we just get the global trade back to even, then the United States consumer will be even a richer pot to sell into than it is now. And everybody clamors to sell to the American public. It's the largest economy, and we spend more than anybody. So if you can give the American public more money to spend, it pays off for everybody who sells to the American public. So if all those countries are really smart, what they would really do is they would be calling Donald Trump and trying to get first in line. That's what they would really be doing. Now, I realize politically that's not very nice, but in the end, that is what they're going to do because they want the United States consumer to keep buying their stuff, period.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
There was
see.
another thing that they came out saying that Trump not only wants lower interest rates, but it's also, I guess it's same, but he wants to call crush the stock market so that the Fed power kind of like buys treasuries, like they can put cash into treasuries. What are your thoughts on that, Max?
I mean that gets a little bit probably stretched. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is not intentionally crashing the stock market.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think. Well, first of all, I don't think secrets like that stay secrets for too long, and I'm pretty sure Donald Trump wouldn't want it quote known that part of his plan was in fact to crash the stock market. I don't think that. What I do think is he he came into an area that huge amounts of money were borrowed over the previous 4 years, dreadful amounts of money, and they were all done on short-term bonds. And they left the new administration the requirement of refinancing almost $9 trillion of debt. And you cannot do that at 5% interest rates. You have to get, I think the goal is to get to 3.5 or lower on the refinance.
Yeah, we'll see. There's another headline here. Nasdaq is down 100 points, 8% this week, whereas Bitcoin is up 1.5%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
story.
I think we're watching. I tweeted about this
Yeah.
a bit
How much
ago.
should Nasdaq?
It might be a good weekend for
Max, you
crypto,
there?
guys. We'll see. I think we're definitely close to the bottom. I
Max
don't want
might have-
to
I think
fall
my
over.
Max might have cut out. Can you guys hear me?
No, no,
Yes.
I was saying something, but more talking came in, so I didn't know whether I was talking over someone. Um, the the thing that the thing that I think we're watching is I tweeted this a minute ago. We we're watching the current overpower the waves. The waves in the storm right now are the stock market. They're getting all the attention. Okay, uh, crypto is staying steady. I was told when I was a kid I used to ocean race sailboats in the middle of the ocean, and we were in a horrendous storm one time. I didn't think we'd survive, but I was 16 years old, and we were on a large vessel sailing off the coast of Bermuda, but we were halfway. We were actually in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, which was kind of funny at the time. But we were halfway between Miami and Bermuda in a race, and it was the middle of the night, and huge storm. And one of the owners of the boat yelled at me and said, "Max, pay attention to the current, not the waves."
Oof.
That lived with me the rest of my life because that's what you do in markets too. You pay attention to the current, the underlying force, not the waves in the storm, because the waves in the storm are going to always be here, and you can't do anything about them. They go away.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that quote. Now, while we're here on Max's page, everybody go ahead and give Max a follow. We just got him active on Twitter over the last month or so, putting out super cool, great tweets like this, as well as he has a newsletter that he posts a lot of times on Twitter as well. Check this one out. Max, is there a way for people to get this to their email, or is that just a
Sure. If they wanted to, I'm trying to think how we could organize an
Yeah, I
email.
mean, I don't know if you guys want to. Maybe you could put like a email thing on here. But either way, if you do want to get this to your email, you guys can send me a DM. But Max does this. What you say, a couple times a week, right?
Yeah, a couple times a week. Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
and I write all this. In fact, I was going to point out a couple of the charts that I put in today are stuff we should actually show people. These are staggering charts. I mean, look at this chart for a second, just to give you an example. This is the VIX volatility indicator, which used to be called the fear index, um, but it covers all the way back to 1990. Now, I'd like you to think for a minute how many friggin' disasters have happened since 1990. I mean, like just dozens of Armageddons, right? I mean, everything you can think of has happened since 1990. Well, here's the kicker. Right this minute, we are more afraid than every single one of them except two: the 0809 global financial collapse and COVID. Now think of that logic for a minute. Do you actually think at Dow 40 fucking thousand that we're in worse shape than we were in COVID?
Hell no.
Or pretend you already know it's not COVID because that was a complete blackout. So you almost have to throw that out. That's like an outlier event. But if you go back to '08 and '09, I want you to remember '08 and '09. I lived every minute of it, but think about what was happening in '08 and '09. In 6 months, we lost four of the largest banks in the country. We lost four of the largest Wall Street firms in the country. We lost two of the largest insurance companies in the fucking world. The Fed had to literally put money on the table or the global economy was going to stop. Now, all of that was happening while the stock market was crashing 38% in 5 months. And right this minute, we're as afraid as we were in that event at Dow 6,700. We are 5 times higher, and we're that afraid. I'm telling you guys, you will laugh about this in 6 months. You will think this is the funniest fucking thing in the world.
Just gotta survive. Just gotta.
No, you don't have to survive. You just have to wait. That's what you got to do. You got to wait.
Yeah.
It's not about that. Nobody's going to be sent to death. This
Yeah.
country, this global economy, there's nobody that's got to worry about surviving. Everyone is going to survive.
Yeah.
They just got to wait.
Yeah, it
100%.
looks like Trump is really playing a game here with tariffs. I think the Vietnam Prime Minister, or I guess Communist Party, came out saying that they wanted to negotiate in Trump instead of saying, "Yeah, let's do it and declare victory." He says he looks forward to meeting in the near future. So he's definitely playing his card. Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I think other countries are going to come around the same way. Argentina and a bunch of other countries are coming to negotiate and getting the better terms. So we'll see.
100%.
I think, and guys, I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but we do have to recognize this. Um, uh, what we're watching is being so blown out of proportion. I mean, so blown out of proportion, and it is coming out of a media structure that simply doesn't like Donald Trump. So, whatever can be created to make it look worse than it is will indeed be created. So, you got to allow for some of that and let it kind of simmer a little bit with you so that you don't take it all too seriously. It is not factual.
Yeah. There's an interesting tweet from Chamath. I don't know if you guys can pull it out, but he says that the stock market crashing is obviously not Trump's fault. Is, I guess the stock market really running out of Biden's last gaps of free money
Oh
before he
yeah,
lost the election. So we're back at where we were like 1 year ago. So that chart, that right there, we're back at where we were in April 2024. What do you guys make of this?
yeah. I think you got addiction to what was basically deceit, and we're gonna all have a little bit of a quarter. I would argue a quarter or two of withdrawal symptoms, and then you're going to come screaming back because Donald Trump is going to rightfully use that leverage. Because look, there's not a single country in the world that wants the United States to be in a recession. Not one. Because if we're in a recession, I promise you theirs is going to be worse. So everybody knows that. All we're doing is watching a little bit of a dance because every one of these damn politicians has an ego the size of the, freaking planet. So they're not going to, all be cozy about it. They're going to have to find their own way to make their own private call. And in the meanwhile, make sure all their voters think they're strong.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The S&P is now down 5.3%.
On
So
the
I
day.
think that's the largest down, I don't want to say since COVID or even before that. That's pretty,
Wow.
that tells you, right? Like we are pretty much at peak fear. And I think this is going to be a great, buying opportunity. And the fact that crypto and Bitcoin is up, this tells
Well,
me that, we're going to see a quick recovery, quicker than most people expect.
Brandon, go back to that morning note. I want to walk through that. Okay.
This,
Stop at this one right here. Just so you know, the live version of that chart is now down to 4. I want you to think of something. 4 has never been reached in the history of data. Now let that sink in from me. The data goes back 27 years. So what we're saying right now is the panic in the crowd is now worse than it's ever been in 27 years. Now, if you think that's logical over something, get this. Here's the sort of hilarious part of all this. Nothing has actually happened yet. It's just chatter. It's just like guys yelling at each other over microphones. Nobody's actually spent any money. Nobody's lost any product. Nobody went to the store and had their stuff cost $11.17 more than it did before because of some friggin' tariff. Nothing has happened. Nothing. Just think about that for a minute. And out of that, we have created more fear than ever in this data. Now, if you think that's logical, if you think that somehow the disaster du jour is matching that reality, I would suggest that you never invest any money again
Yeah.
because you don't understand. Now, go to the next chart down. This is the whole point of all of this. 8
That's
weeks
right.
ago,
The 10-year Treasury bill.
8 weeks ago, this was 4.77%. Now, scroll down further. Crude oil is down $19 a barrel since the start of the year.
Yeah.
Inflation will soon go to deflation. Remember when we started the year, the only thing anybody talked about was interest rates and inflation. That's it. That was the two monsters de jour. And we told everybody in our morning notes, just like always, guys, I promise you, when they're done with this, when the monsters of inflation and interest rates are dead, and they will be, when they are, they will find another monster that's even worse. Okay?
Indeed.
And here we are. They've done it. And the last chart I wanted to show is the one I sent you on the channel there, Bren. Can you pull that chart up?
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Yeah,
See.
as long as eggs are down, I
Yeah,
think they're down 60% since 70% since February. So
Let's see here.
the one you're about to pull up is simply staggering to me.
Cool. Let me share my whole screen.
You might have to mute something because I think I'm echoing in the background.
It might be my mic picking it up. That's what somebody's saying in the chat, but it only started recently, so I'll mute myself in a second. Let's see, entire screen. Let's see. Let's drag this over for a second, and then yeah, this one.
Okay, that one. All right. Now, this is a technical snapshot of the internals of the stock market. And it shows you the percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average. Okay. Now look where we are right now. I drew a red line straight across the chart so everybody could see where we are today versus all the way back to 2005, 20 years. Now, 20 years included a lot of disastrous events. Do you know the only time it was worse?
When?
COVID.
Up right here.
That's the only thing that spikes lower. By the way, that was literally 3 weeks and then it was over.
Yep.
So here we are talking about tariffs. Talking. We're not spending tariffs. We're not like 9 months into tariffs. We're not calculating all the money we've lost to tariffs. We're not adding inflation because of tariffs. We're not doing any of that shit. We're just talking about it. Now, we're not talking, we're yelling, we're screaming, we're jabbing at each other. Nothing else. And these fucking freaks have done this to the stock market out of dead ass panic and politics. I'm telling you, when this is done, by summer, I will guarantee you that we will find out that George Soros was short the entire time.
for
I
sure.
will guarantee you. And I'll further guarantee you that the money he used to go short is the money he stole from us in his NGOs.
That's 100%.
Wow. Wow. All right. Let me see here. Go back to
Well,
the.
you can make this shit up, man. Bitcoin is 84,332.
There you
Yeah,
go.
84,000 plus. So we easily like pretty much recovered everything we lost yesterday. Whereas the stock
Yeah.
market and equities are down and panicking. So
Yeah.
I expect Bitcoin to go up in this situation versus stocks.
I mean, you'd hope
Even
like
equities, for sure.
yeah. In the past, it hasn't always performed that way. Usually, the big moves to the downside obviously follows risk assets.
yeah,
But
short term
yeah,
at least. Hmm.
for sure. And we'll get into charts here in a little bit towards the end, and then some Q&A as well. I do see a few questions in here that we'll go back to. I saw Panda, you asked something. I do want to touch on a few other things that happened this week. Obviously, um, Powell's comments today. Were you listening, for Luca?
Powell's comments? Yeah. What about it?
What were your thoughts on his
Well,
comment?
he was saying that again, the economy is still healthy and that the tariffs are actually going to drive inflation short term. So I don't know if Max you were listening to this, but he's not really open yet to I guess discuss cutting interest rates. That's what I picked up from his speech. Maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah,
but he's saying
I
that
wouldn't know
I
doing
mean
that.
Trump is pretty much pushing him. Hey, we're doing everything we can to pretty much get us there and stop QT and start with quantitative easing as soon as possible. But Fed Powell seems to be pretty convinced that this is not yet the time to cut interest rates. So I guess it's just back and forth. My idea was like whatever happens, I don't think anytime soon we're gonna see interest rates being cut. So we might be hearing a little bit of pain, at least in the equity side of things short term. That was my takeaway.
Well, here's what I think. I think Powell has to say that because he doesn't want to look like he's folding under political discussion. So he has to say that whether he believes it or not. And further, I think all he's waiting for, and he's going to get it here relatively shortly. Listen. You take $19 off of crude oil in a matter of 5 weeks, and I promise you, in the second inflationary report in that 6 week window, you're gonna watch inflation fall off a cliff. So all he needs is something to cover him, and he'll follow the bond market because that's all the Fed does. All the Fed does is follow the bond market. Right now, the bond market is at least 3 cuts ahead of him.
Yeah.
So all he's looking for is, give me a little cover, and you'll get your rate cuts.
Yeah. I think he's been late to cutting rates in the past. So I think that's what
More than
Trump was
late.
saying.
That's
It's like
because they
you need
because
to
they follow the bond market. They're always late. That's why they're late going up and late coming down.
Yeah, got it. Let me see. I think that's what I had. You just asked your question that I was going to ask on that. Let's see.
definitely having the effect that he wants. I mean, TLT and bonds are up, um, which I think is good. I mean, Trump wants treasury more cash in the treasuries at least. So
Yeah,
Well, anytime people panic, they sell stocks and they buy bonds. So it's working.
100%. I'm trying to see if I missed any questions in regards to this in the chat. Let's see. Bitcoin, right?
Paul asked on TikTok what should he buy if you had to invest in something. You get 500 to 1,000.
Bitcoin and ETH right now. Um, can't go wrong with that. Paul, I don't know what your how much you are into crypto, but if you never go wrong with Bitcoin, ETH, and learn about the other stuff. But that's what I would start with. Let's see. Do you think the TikTok deal is good for the USA?
I was looking at it. I think Trump is giving a deadline for it.
Max is like laughing. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really been following it.
I think Amazon wanted to. I think they came in with a late bid. There was a
Yeah,
bunch of companies involved.
yeah. Let's see. S&P, Tesla today. Let's see. No, I hit too hard. Damn, the VIX hasn't been this high since that was August. What happened in August that was spiked so hard? Um, but yeah, what else? What else here? She said, "Yo, Brent, do you think the current trade tensions will push more people into crypto?" Um, I think Max already said that these two things are kind of separate, right? Crypto's going to do what it's going to do.
Oh, I fully believe that these trade tensions will push people to crypto for sure.
In what way?
Safe asset. Look at Bitcoin right now.
Yeah,
Like people internationally, like considering holding Bitcoin over gold, over US dollar. Like I think there's a lack of. I think there's be a lack of trust going into the U.S. government, starting from other countries, and Bitcoin's probably the way they're gonna move their money towards, either individually or as governments.
yeah. Ethan says Elon should just buy TikTok just for fun. Yeah, I think that he's gonna try to do like a TikTok type thing with Vine, like straight on the X app. So I don't think he'd even need to do that. But while we have a little bit of a break in the show here, I do want to first of all, like I said earlier, go ahead and give a follow to my guy Max here at Team Six Crypto. He also has a YouTube channel where he goes more in depth into these topics, showing a lot of the clips where not only he has been on talking about these things, but just showing examples of these different crises that he's been talking about on here over the years and how they're overblown and always lead to these stock indexes and risk assets just going higher. So definitely check out these, and then look out for more content coming from both of us, but from him as well on YouTube and other avenues that we'll be talking about in these streams here as well. And then obviously for Loco Danksy Rotes, working with Bridge 3 Labs. I'll let For Loco talk a little bit about it, but Bridge 3 Labs is a community slash NFT project that gives you access to a great group of people with expertise in a lot of different areas. So definitely check out what they're doing as well. For Loco, you want to do a little bit of a little breakdown what you guys got going on lately?
Yeah, definitely. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so we are a group of investors and entrepreneurs in Web3. We all came together around 2021, 2022, where obviously there was a more demand for investors to get involved in crypto, but there was just still a lot of uncertainty and risks. We saw a lot of the scams back in the previous cycle, so we all got together and created this group. It's about 1,000 NFTs called B3L Beasts, and they give you access to all the information, trades, materials, and resources that we share with our group, as well as investment kind of like ideas. Obviously, nothing is a financial advice, but we all share together kind of like what we trade together. And even if someone is building something in Web3, we help them with either resources, finding the right capital and investors, and really just, help them build in Web3 and crypto. So that's really what we do. And if you're willing or want to explore it, you can check our Bridge 3 Labs Twitter page, and you can learn more about it there. But thanks everyone for joining and tuning in today.
Right on. Hell yeah. Drago says, what's your current strategy for navigating the Bitcoin market? Right now, man, I think we've been pretty clear on the stream that right in crypto in general, whether it's the majors, alts, or memes, it's you can throw a dart at the top 10 to 50. If it's the top, if you're talking like altcoins, the top 50 coins, meme coins, top 5 to 10, cult coins or whatever ones that are still showing strength, and do very well when the market does go up. So just vaguely, it's a pretty vague question, but I'd say how you navigate the crypto market right now, how I am, is not overcomplicating it. Obviously, just having patience as well as adding slowly to not only ETH and Bitcoin and Sol, but my higher conviction alts and meme coins. Specifically, meme coins. I know a lot of people. That's what a lot of people, besides ETH and Bitcoin, that's what they're dabbling in. I think the quote unquote cult coins, or not even just the cult coins, but the coins that have survived these crashes before. I'm talking the Giga, SPX, Mog, Giga, for example. 70% corrections. Six of them had survived this year, including this one. Five other ones, other than this one. And when those corrections happen, supply goes into more stronger hands. Same thing we see with Bitcoin. When Bitcoin has these big corrections, supply goes into the stronger hands, more longer term people. That's what I would focus on right now. No need to overcomplicate it and try to buy these fucking super small new coins when you can just slowly add to the coins that are down a lot but have shown that they've had strength and come out of these corrections before. Justin says, I've seen Max's videos on X's analysis are very cool. Yeah, definitely. Following everyone B3O. Do you think April will be the change? For me, who knows, man. Again, whether it be April, March, or May, fucking who knows. Again, we just gotta let this shit play out. Are we going to be bullish during April? Who knows, man. We'll see. Thank you for your analysis,
I,
Max.
I would say, like, maybe we do slightly well for crypto, but I don't know if it's fully bullish. Taking into account that crypto actually moves with global liquidity. At least that's my perspective. And right now in the U.S. is tax season, so I don't know. I have mixed feelings about April. I don't think we rally, but I do also think we don't go much lower either. Just because of what we're seeing today, like this is supposed to be max fear across all markets, and Bitcoin is actually going higher. So, and then there's also other altcoins are not doing as well, but there's certain ones that are actually picking up in real world assets and across other sectors. So I'm not saying we're going to be rallying, but definitely I don't think we're going to be dumping much. So we might be in a period of kind of like here accumulation slash flat until the summer. That's how I see it. And perhaps if you compare it to the like DeFi summer after COVID, I think it was 2020. You might have a rally, during the summer and towards the end of the summer, Q3.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, usually, I mean, the last few years, and again, it's only a few fucking years, but summer's been pretty slow, at least since the bottom in uh, in 2022. But of course, that doesn't mean this summer can't be strong. Um, Max, you have any thoughts on that? I know you just got to let this thing play out, but for summer of crypto, you think?
Yeah, I don't. I
No,
mean,
didn't think so.
yeah, I, I don't know that I think of it that way, but that doesn't make anything else right or wrong.
Of course.
I think I here's what I think. I think now that everybody, and I do mean everybody, I don't care which market you're in, is pretty sure that whatever we're calling what is going on is going to be this multi-year problem. Um, it its extinguishment and fix will be faster than anybody expects. It's kind of like COVID. When they first said, by the way, you've got to go home and every business is closing for COVID. It took 3 weeks and then it went straight to the moon. I mean, literally straight to the moon. So I suspect you're going to watch something like that. I think what's going to happen is whenever the first guy makes a deal, all the other deals are going to happen in pretty much one by one. Dominoes are going to fall, and nobody's going to want to be left behind. Look, if two or three of the big guys make a deal and tariffs go away, you think all the other guys are still going to want tariffs? No, no, no. They're not going to want to be behind the whole world in competition.
Yeah, FOMO.
They're going to
Yeah.
very quickly make a deal. So all you're watching is a dance, and somebody's going to give up first, and then like a pack of wolves, they're going to run to the door to give up next.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems consensus right now among the public is, oh, like this is going to be paying, like you said, for a year or two before we see any recovery. And
Not even close.
yeah,
Well,
gotcha.
not so breaking news, but U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just said Bitcoin is becoming a store of value. So it's further,
By
you
the
know,
way,
Yeah.
remember what we said a couple of weeks ago. If you were the United States and you were indeed going to convert your gold to Bitcoin, wouldn't you want Bitcoin to be down for a while you get all that ready?
Yep.
Okay, and what has Bitcoin done? Bitcoin has been down for a while and it's basically gone flat. In fact, I think I counted last night that something like 21 of the last 30 trading days, Bitcoin has traded in the exact same price, meaning at some point in the day, it touched the exact same price.
Yeah. Straight sideways for a month.
So,
A month.
since they made a big deal out of it, this has been compressed, and there's a reason for it.
So that's what they're buying. That's what they're accumulating. Wow. And we didn't even talk about this. Yeah, obviously the tariffs have just been, the main focus for everybody. But uh, what was this? 4 or 5 days ago? Did we talk about this on the last stream? I don't even think so. Um, but Larry Fink, saying that if the U.S. doesn't get their debt under control, that Bitcoin could and digital currencies could take over as that world reserve currency. Something that a lot of Bitcoiners have been saying for a long time. Insane to say Larry Fink to say this kind of stuff. Just like how he just started recently saying the same kind of trope that everyone's been saying that there's not enough Bitcoin for every millionaire in crypto. Crazy to see him say stuff like this. Thoughts on this, Max?
Well, I think it's obvious. I mean, of course, it's going to take over the dollar.
Yeah.
That's that's the whole plan. So, that's why I say I don't know that anybody is spending their time well if they're worried about what's going to happen to ETH and the L1s and the Bitcoins and the Bitcoin. Why in the world would you worry about that?
It's all going
It's very obvious what's going to happen. They're all going to go up, and they're all going to become our currencies and asset holders of the next 1,000 years. So the real question is why aren't you just being patient? That's the question.
yeah.
Just be
Not
patient.
Well, here's an indicator I like, at least for equities. When you see things like headlines like this, Goldman Sachs had the biggest selling ever since, I believe, 2023 in Q1, which is telling you that they pretty much are they're telling you that they want to inflict fear so that they can build larger positions. So when you see headlines like this, it's probably a good time to start adding
well.
things like
Remember,
this.
Wall Street firms are inventory machines.
Right.
When stocks are high, they've sold all their stocks to you guys, and not you guys, but to the public. And then when they need stocks to resell, they tell you how dangerous stocks are. And then as soon as they're
Mm.
full again, they tell you that people have overreacted. And and they're so confident that people have overreacted that they have some great stocks to sell you. It's a game that's been going on forever. So it's not new.
100%. Here, I'm just resharing my screen real quick.
You will lose friend.
What's up?
Oh, you're there. Sorry, I
Yeah,
thought we
I was
lost
just
you.
resharing my screen. Um, we should just be patient. Yeah, absolutely. If you've learned anything from the streams, is just be patient. That's the solution to everything. Max, who gets the hurt? Who gets hurt the most by tariffs? Consumers or businesses?
Well, right now, none, because none of them actually happened.
Yeah.
Um, I think some businesses will try very hard to not pass them on. It is equal pain for everybody because it causes a cost structure that has to be worked into the system. I think the whole word tariff has caused so much over analysis in everybody's brain that nobody even really knows what they're talking about anymore.
Yeah.
It is so overdone that, believe me, guys, look, look, if everybody just fucking went to sleep the first time they mentioned the word tariff, and then they woke up when we were done having a year of tariffs, the entire expense would have been between 550 and 600 billion dollars. That's it. That's it. One fucking year of it. On yesterday alone, we erased 4 years worth of tariffs from the stock market in one day. So this is so overdone. It's almost stupid that we're still talking about it. It is overblown. It is completely psychotic at this point, and it will be laughable in 6 months. It will be hilarious.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, in 6 months for sure. I would probably
overtalked.
like
It's
to
a problem.
say earlier than 6 months, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm exaggerating a little, but you're right. It'll be sooner than 6 months that this will be erased and funny because everyone will realize how dumb it was.
Yeah. Everybody will be laughing at how fucking freaked out they were. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
even
Bitcoin really gaining all those trends. I don't know your guys are following the chart, but
yeah,
regain I guess yesterday's low, so 2 days ago. So high, sorry.
yep,
We crossed 85,000. I think we're gonna have a good weekend. But regardless.
yeah. For me, obviously, it's just a chart thing, but until we cross the prior bounce high at like 93, we could just keep chopping in this range. So until then, um, just gotta let this shit play out. Great macro perspective as usual, Sir Max. Soul says today was real good insight to keep everyone calm. Yeah, thank you, Soul. Truly, tariff caused a weird persona. Everybody making their own strategies. Yeah, I think it's a lot of regurgitated shit that people don't even know what they're talking about with a lot of these complex, whatever type things. When do you think Trump will stop tariffs? But if it persists, can crypto adopt and thrive? Any smaller cup alts you guys are looking at? But yeah, I think again, just gotta let this shit play out. I did want to do a little bit of a talk on the tariffs today again because of that's what's everyone's mind. But if you're watching these streams, I think the one thing you can take away from it is definitely learn the little stuff, but just don't focus so much on it. Like Max just said a second ago, literally, everybody's spending so much time over analyzing it. You don't have to. You just let this shit play out. You don't have to know every little fucking detail of what the tariffs would imply or whatever, because we don't even know if it is even going to go into effect. So, like it is. Let's see. Is Bitcoin showing more strength in the stock market? Yeah, clearly. Someone said we shouldn't be worried that nothing has been changed in the market. Yeah, like Max has showed a bunch of times, way more money's been wiped off of the stock market just the last however many months. Or look, I don't know if that's you, bro, but there's a bunch of static. Yeah, that's it. Or look up. Yeah, I think that's your mic is really staticky. Do we continue down or up from here? On the very short term, who knows, man? We got to let this thing play out, like we've said a few times. But
Who asked that? Do we continue down or up? Who asked?
um, let's see. Spaced faceless. I think to be fair, I think I haven't seen him in the stream before. He might be new.
I
The
thought he was
beast.
playing. Uh, yeah, well, that's a good question. Do we continue down or up? Uh, the only good answer would be it's going to be one of those.
Yeah, good. It's gonna be one or the other.
Yeah,
No matter what, we remain bullish. Absolutely, we appreciate you guys for being on here, especially where a time where not a lot's going on, especially in crypto prices or anything. The fact that you guys are on here trying to learn says a lot. So we're going to continue to do these streams. uh, through the hard times, through good times, having great people on like Max, who's just a regular and running the show with me now, but other people to kind of highlight their stories, get different perspectives, as well as really help people get a grip. I think that's what Max and us on here have really been talking about. I think there's just really during this time the negativity, quote unquote uncertainty, and just assuming the worst has kind of taken over the culture. So we like to have these streams and not only just being blindly bullish, obviously showing good data and showing historical stuff on why you should be bullish, but just remaining optimistic and really help people get a grip. So Max, we appreciate you giving your insight on everything always, and thank you for being on. We appreciate you too for teaching us great things.
So I'm going to give you another update. That chart we showed a minute ago, the percent of stocks above their 50-day moving average.
Yeah, let's see.
Okay,
Oh yeah, on TikTok. Yeah.
what was that reading?
Let me look.
725.
11.25.
Okay, it's now 9.45%.
Jesus, dude. Is that the
Now I want
low
to
COVID, right?
I want to tell you that it is now it is less than one tick, one full point away from being the worst of all time.
That is nuts. Think about that, guys. Like, of all of the fucking terrible things that have actually happened in the world, like COVID, whatever, like it's not terrible end up happening, but like actually worse things that have gone on and where we're at right now. Does that make sense? It's fucking nuts.
Guys, all I can tell you is if that does not tell you that something else is happening, when something becomes so obviously blown out of proportion, then it's something else. We are witnessing a series of events, and some people might not like that I'm saying this, but I have never felt something more strongly. And I don't care who any of us voted for. This is a political event we are watching. This is not a financial event. There is nothing that is happening financially that would cause this type of fear, this type of presentation. It just wouldn't do it. There's nothing that's changed. Nothing. There's talk. That's it. Talk. There's not a single pocketbook in the United States of America, or for example, anywhere else in the world that has been affected by what we're all talking about. Not yet, anyway, but there's not been one. Not one. You gotta realize that. You gotta realize that when you're in the matrix, you gotta know you're in the matrix.
We're in the matrix, baby. Jet Frenzy says, Sir Max, if you became president of the US for 1 month, what will you do for crypto?
I'd fire everybody in the media.
Nice. So much, yeah, trust the process, 100%. But that's insane. 9 point, wow. What was the all time low reading or all time high, whatever?
8.4.
Fuck. And that was COVID?
Yep. And that was actually real. I mean, there were millions of people dying.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're doing this over nothing
Yeah.
is absolutely laughable.
Yeah. It's not accidental.
Well, it's no longer normal. And honestly, it's really fucked up thinking. I mean, it's like mental illness kind of thinking.
Wow. You're saying by like the retail investor or just like the
I'm just saying that this is so bad. This is such a disservice to investors.
Yeah.
New or old, it is absurd. There is no logical explanation. There's not even if you really wanted to find the bad news, there is you cannot find it.
Jeez.
So when you have that, you have to realize it's something else.
Yeah.
And George Soros knows how to crash a market. He did it. It's how he got rich. He did it to the British pound many, many, many years ago. So he knows how to do it, and
Yeah.
he knows how to deceive, and he knows how to make things look bad.
Is George like loading up on crypto as well, or like crypto exposure?
I have no fucking idea what George is doing,
Yeah.
but he is one dangerous individual.
Yeah.
He is the devil incarnate.
Yeah.
He's an evil, evil guy.
Yeah. Fuck George. But they're positive too, just negative. Well, let's hope for the best. Absolutely. Might tariffs accelerate? Yeah. But yeah, 100%. Again, not much to look at crypto or chart wise or anything today. Again, the good memes and the good alts, especially the we've been talking about on this stream that like the top 50 alts, even the ones that haven't moved the last few years, throwing a dart at those. It's probably a good idea. But meme coin wise, again, for me, I've just been buying the same 5 or 6 coins that have survived these before. Just like every other time, probability wise, most likely like every other time Bitcoin ETH Sol comes out of these, the strong coins that survived will too. So not much to look at chart or meme coin wise, guys. When obviously that stuff does pick up again, we will be covering it. But for now, um, not much to look at. Fire everyone in the media for sure. Rhodes, you still with us, bro?
I am, yep. As I just smacked the mic into my face after I got the mute button. My
Jeez.
kid is showing me a game, so you might hear that in the background, but
No
I'm here.
worries. Let's talk some NFT stuff. I don't know if much has happened this week. I know apes and some other stuff have been steadily going up, but anything? What's been going on? Anything?
Fairly quiet. I mentioned off the top there was the Memeland Captains. They acquired a company. That company went up to like 100 million valuation. But went through that price. They bumped a bit, but I mean they're down quite a bit from their all-time highs. So there's a little bit of action there. The way I still look at NFTs, or way we kind of the way NFTs feel at the moment, is they're really establishing themselves as collectibles on the higher end side of things. I think you can kind of see that with the action that you see going on with apes, kind of fairly organic price appreciation and accumulation of the NFTs. Punk's same idea, where they are starting to move up regardless of any activity from the collection, and that's I think a really positive sign, and a good place for them to be for the most part. And
What's the company they bought?
what was that? Sorry,
What's the company?
for Memeland?
Yeah.
I don't I don't know what the name is, but the idea behind it is something like a
They post on Twitter, right?
MicroStrategy for meme coins.
Whoa! Holy shit! Sorry, I interrupt. I just realized while we're on the stream, VFriends just got swept up to 2 ETH. Holy fuck! It was at 1.4.
Jeez,
Holy fuck! Look at this. Who is this? Is this
someone,
Gary?
someone's going hard.
A friend of Gary.
Yeah,
No.
a friend of
Oh,
Gary
okay.
named Gary.
Not yours. I don't know who the fuck this is, but he just bought like 50. Anyway,
There we go.
carry
There we
on.
go. And
Look at
I
this
mean,
candle. Holy
this
fuck.
is such an excellent example of how NFTs move. Right? Is you see these spikes, and then it'll draw down. It'll do this corrective consolidation,
Holy shit.
and then another rally will go on. Right?
I
So
gotta look this up.
what you want to be doing is buying during these consolidation ranges when the NFTs are kind of found a base level steady for a period of time,
Holy
and
fuck.
you have to hold, right, and that's kind of the perspective you take. From there, they will all rally. If you're looking to make any kind of shorter term flips on those, then you basically want to take it and list it almost immediately at 1.25 floor, 1.5 times floor 2x floor, whatever the case may be, when you buy these through the consolidation range, and that's kind of your move. Otherwise, it's you're purely buying them on the collectability side of things. VFriends, excellent example there. I think apes are kind of establishing themselves. Punk's obviously the original true digital collectible. Seen some good movement on the art side of things. Some big copy purchases recently, that kind of stuff. So overall, I think quiet in the volume side of things. But overall, I think pretty positive. Taproot Wizards, more recently minted out. They've fallen down from mint level. I think the public was as high as 0.3 Bitcoin, but 0.2, 0.3. They're at 0.16, so they've pulled back a bit. I think longer term,
the company that Meme Land bought is called 2440.
Yes,
And I guess it goes by main strategy.
So yeah,
Hong Kong
VFriends.
trading.
These VFriends,
Okay.
100 ETH from one wallet, 55, funded straight from Coinbase, fresh wallet. What do these people know? But
and you see this in apes quite a bit too, right? These fresh wallet sweeps
yeah, what
where they pick up several $1 million worth, and usually
What's
those are good catalysts. So nice to see that on VFriends.
Zuki still at 2.6. Wow, incredible. Because that tripped me out because it was at 1.4 before the stream. I was looking. 50 is fucking nuts. Let's see where they just swept. Didn't even really get insane. But yeah, even before this, you see a lot of the whales. A lot of the existing whales already sweeping and buying a lot of the rares. Deeper in the floor. You look at this. There's only like 20 or 30 until 3 ETH even. So pretty thin floor overall, especially amongst like the middle parts of here. So interesting to see. I'm gonna look into this, but oh yeah.
One of the things I've noticed is that my buyer seller ratio has kind of trended back towards where it was prior to the last month or so. I know in the last 45 days we were kind of having days above the 1.0 ratio, and that was a pretty positive indicator. We've now slid back below, so a bit of a note there. I think the market being quiet is also kind of part of it, but the last time we really rallied after crypto had its kind of run, so we're still waiting on the cycle to really kick off on the NFT side of things, but there's still parts of victories and gains in there, and sticking with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll be
The
nuts.
collection was moving steady teddies. You guys have followed that one?
Yeah.
I talk about these alternate chains quite a bit, and how they often are pretty fleeting. But steady
No, that
teddies,
one, Brent.
steady teddies we talked about
DDYS.
Yeah.
on Tuesday, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Very
and so I mean, I like these.
I think what we were looking at the
got
other
that-
day, what we were looking at, sorry to interrupt real quick. We were looking at, it was like before they started
Yeah.
something.
think
So they
that's
were the
exactly
rare
it.
ones. It was the really rare ones we were looking at, I think. Or were they just that was the
They could have been pre-reveal. Just
okay.
general art on pre-reveal.
That was kind of sick then. That was a cool idea.
But I like these.
Yeah, pretty clean. They kind of got like a Milady, or a Remilio.
Yeah, but less weird.
Yeah.
Like these are weird, but weird in a good way because they're teddies and not kids.
yeah,
so
not
that's
like crazy shit. What about that collection called One Gravity?
What did you say?
One Gravity.
One Gravity.
Apparently it's also apparently
Yeah,
it's also hot today.
that was one of the movers. It's a captain's Azuki sort of thing. You see this kind of art style quite a bit. Nothing unique stands out about it.
Yeah, looks pretty basic.
But I mean, if you're after an anime PFP, I guess that's one way to do it. But
Is the floor 1.6? Oh, that's a rare one.
1.6, yeah. Best offer. The
I think
floor
wow.
and top offer are like pretty much the same.
right, they're
What's the story
60%
behind
of
this,
Azuki.
Rhodes? Is it gaming or anime?
Anime, yeah.
Is the first NFT collection created for the OG, the largest DAI-L1 ecosystem, is made for the community in line with. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I never had heard of these before.
What's their
We
lifespan at
only
this
hear
point?
about these things when price is up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Um, March 12th.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like if stuff like Steady Teddies or Taproot Wizards, even though they're going under mint, if they end up being a good buy opportunity. I could see it because Taproot Wizards, at least with Udi
This
and all that, I could see it doing well. But
this chart here is so common in NFT launches. All right, you get this really strong out of the gate, and then a few days after it kind of dumps. What you're looking for is typically a 2 to 3 week window for it to be performing well. And so the fact that it's getting a bit of a rally here is worth noting and worth watching. But when you take a look at them, etc., like, I mean, when you have Azuki out there and Azuki being so good and elementals, etc., like an anime project really has to do something to stand out. Otherwise, they're just gonna kind of fade off, regardless of what they're doing, because Azuki still exists, right? So this is decent, but like it's nowhere near the Azuki level. So I suspect that it will probably continue to just slowly burn off. But the fact that it's getting a bit of a rally in this like 2 to 3 week range, where in the past that's where you've seen NFTs really, the strong NFTs start to prove themselves. It's worth noting.
for sure, man. Sorry, I'm just looking at this the V Friends Discord, seeing what's going on. But yeah, 100%. It'll be really fascinating, really interesting to see if an NFT and full on crypto bull run at the same time. Can you imagine the fucking madness? That'd be a lot of fun. I could see it happening. Again, probably driven by the clarity coming from regulatory stuff. I would not be surprised. I think there's people have such little expectations for NFTs right now as far as prices. Not only has this created just great entries, I think, for a lot of these projects, but I think just a few like, and again, I don't know if this is what's going to happen. Like, but like, say they announce with one of these bills that you can raise money through an NFT, through a business, or you can fucking do any of these things that people are just not even thinking about through an NFT. I could see that just sparking a fucking, a run across the board on the speculative stuff. Again, who knows? I think again, what we've seen with Max on these streams, what's important to focus on is if NFTs were to RWAs were to be like really legitimized and adopted, what that would mean for just owning any NFTs, especially the original kind of projects that were popular in the era, would be massive.
Did Bren? Did anything happen to V2 or just V1?
So that was a V1 sweep so
Yeah,
far. I don't think they swept any V2. Let me
yeah.
check.
God,
Yeah.
I got way too many of those.
Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I we'll see what's happening with that. We'll see. But which in reps is funny there. Meta activations coming. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the NFTs. Getting close to 11:30. Let me check the chat.
So who bought all
The other
the?
thing is
You said
Farcoin, man.
a bunch of ones got bought.
Yeah, it was a fresh wallet straight from Coinbase, so we don't know who it was. I'm kind of looking more into it now, but
Gotcha.
yeah, there is. Yeah, I'll let you know when I find more stuff out. But what were we gonna say, Fur?
Farcoin.
Oh yeah, Farcoin. Somebody was asking about that in the chat too. I think Farcoin will be one of the ones that it's not one of my bigger positions like the others that I've named, but I do think Farcoin along those same lines due to kind of the kind of community, like they're pretty strong community still talking about Farcoin. And I think it is one of the ones that will survive due to, despite it being down 90%, still, again, that strong community. It's kind of AI slash cult like hybrid coin. I think there's a good
You know
chance
what I
that.
think it is, Brent?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
I think the AI part is actually not that relevant anymore. I
Yeah,
think it's almost like a m- you know like a measure of how the economy is doing. Like people are like, fuck this. This is like, terrible, whatever. Like I think people are using Farcoin as a, I don't know, I don't want to say a completely different measure as what's happening in the real macro and stock market, but it's pumping. It's pretty much the strong meme right now, um, across all chains, and it seems to do well when things in the macro, are doing bad. So I've just been tracking it as a health of the economy, the crypto economy, but also as a way of people kind of like, you know being against what's happening on a macro level, whether it's economy or, you know, other socioeconomical kind of like, events that are happening. So I think this can go higher whether we enter a recession or not, if you consider that a
yeah,
recession.
yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I think Farcoins. That's an interesting correlation. I mean, at least just recently, this is a pretty new coin overall, but I do think I
Some
think
big whales involved.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think Bitcoin is kind of just leading the rest of the meme coin market, and obviously, if Bitcoin were to take off in the next few months, could very likely just lead this low and not come back down there, go into the billions again. Would not be surprise me at all. So yeah, Farcoin holding strong. I think it's up there with the SPX Giga Mog. Is a coin that will probably likely come out of this the carnage. Yeah,
It's doing better than Solana, which is crazy.
yeah. I can. But I also read this. It's like when Farcoin is up, it means everyone. Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard. It definitely it's been like that for the last few months. Those correlations can be broken quite quickly, but I've 100% like there's some legitimacy to that. But I just see Farcoin as kind of just front running the rest of the meme coin market. What do you think about tariff? Yeah, I don't have any thoughts on that, Agent King. Brand community or tech or both? Um, I think I agree with a lot of. I think most coins, whether they say they have tech off them or not, are running off of like memetics. So community or tech or both, I think there's two separate things. Like there's going to be coins, especially now with regulation, that have legitimate tech off of them. But meme coins and then tech coins are just two separate things, man. What's your advice? Is aping now a good idea? I think DCAing into solid coins, throwing a dart like literally at any of the top coins, whether it be alts, memes, any of them, and then just fucking letting this play out. I think that's what I'm doing. But anything else NFT wise? I don't think there's any news or anything this week, right? Reds mostly.
No, pretty quiet otherwise.
Besides this fucking massive VFriend sweep, goddamn. 13 people are still buying.
Are you selling any, Brent?
Hell no. No.
Normally, it's a good idea to sell some into a pump, but that's just my
Yeah,
experience with NFTs.
for sure. I got much higher price targets. I think that the fact they're like 3x off the lows versus a lot of these other projects. So no, especially I think they're gonna drop a coin too. Um, but yeah, no, I won't sell any at least. I'll probably take a few off the board at 10 ETH around there every
10
week.
ETH.
Yeah,
What's the floor? Two?
yeah.
Nice. I like your targets.
I mean, that's just goes into show like the fact that people, and again, this is not ripping on you at all, but the fact that people's expectations are so low that it's not going to go fucking half of what it was in 2021 goes to show like I think how low expectations for crypto are. I put out this tweet, recently. I think that kind of draws parallels between where's this shit? Parallels between what people were talking in 2017. Where the fuck is it? About how people in 2017 are saying there's never going to be. I'm sorry, yeah, 2018 saying there's never going to be another crypto bull market. Same thing that people are saying now. I think that's the exact same shit's going to play out. Like all these asset classes, whether they end up just being one and done or not, are always flooded during their first bear market. People always think it's not going to get as good as it was. Just like we saw in crypto and a lot of these other asset classes, it always, the second bull market usually is strong or even stronger. So I think same thing is going to happen with NFTs here, but really concentrated in a few of the projects that actually stuck around and building, and then stuff like Memecoin NFTs and some of the newer stuff. So yeah, I think VFriends easily gets back to half of what it was in 2021. I think it goes back to all-time highs again due to the operator, Gary V, and his abilities and intentions to actually make not NFTs, but like the brand actually fucking matters. So yeah. Truly, how I replied to a tweet. Yeah, I think we'll go for a few more minutes, guys. Pretty quiet week. I really wanted to focus heavily on
Doesn't
what's
Gary
going
Vee already have a chain? Am I wrong?
on. But what?
A chain already?
Is that a V chain joke?
Definitely a VeChain joke, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, they're that's funny. V chain, that's a throwback. Agent King said, "By the way, Max, I watched all your YouTube videos. They're amazing."
Excellent. Thanks, guys. Here to help.
Sir Brent, do you own any BAYC NFTs? No, I have a mutant, but no apes. Again, I went pretty heavy into VFriends instead of some of the projects that are already up a bunch. I love today's session. Winning would be a grateful gift. Okay, yeah, appreciate you guys. I am gonna do a giveaway from the comments, like I always do. So look out for that. I'll be announcing it on the Boss Man Calls Telegram channel. If you're not in there, go check that out as well. That's where I do all my in-depth like write-ups, analysis, some streams in there sometimes as well, giveaways, all that good stuff. Obviously, trade ideas and quote unquote calls that myself and then Boss Man, my partner, does on more the meme coin side. So definitely check that out in there. Max, I watch. Okay, for sure. Anything else, you guys, that you feel like we should go over? Any final thoughts, Max, for Loco?
Not that we haven't covered.
Love that. For Loco? Any final thoughts you want to leave the audience before we sign off? Is he even still on here with us? I don't even know.
I'm not sure. No, he's showing his offline. I don't think he could hear us.
For sure. Rotes, anything else before we sign off, brother?
Yeah, I mean, look at how everything is reacted amongst the chaos, and I think this has to make you way more confident and bullish in the mid long term of crypto and crypto assets, right? So if you're worried about anything going on right now, I mean, this show is perfect for you, right? And just make sure you pay attention, maybe even re-listen or listen to past shows, especially what Max is saying in regards to all of the chaos going on, and you're gonna rest easy knowing that a lot of this is gonna come to pass with very little overall impact, and you'll be very thankful that you have reacted the way you probably should, right? So yeah, great show, guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday at 1 p.m. PST. We're going to have some more guests here coming up and more great analysis like as this thing plays out. We appreciate you guys. Make sure to like, comment, follow all the panel on there. Turn post notifications on for yours truly so you don't miss a stream. And we appreciate you guys. Definitely, you guys have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too. Peace.